So the other day I made a video where I mentioned that I had a less than cordial encounter with a couple of breeders because their 1-year-old son was screaming at the top of his lungs in a restaurant and they were being extremely annoying and disruptive. Well, the mother of that child left a comment answering back, so I figured I'd read through this and give my own response.
Lol, that was me and my family who you weirdos had a problem with in that restaurant.
Okay, first problem here, weirdos? We weren't the ones screaming at the top of our lungs. If we were doing what your child was doing, then yeah, we'd be weird. But I don't see how it's unreasonable to expect people to not scream as loud as they can in a restaurant. And speaking of weird, look at your youngest son. I'm not a fan of babies to begin with, but that's honestly one of the ugliest babies I've ever seen. But at least that little was quiet.
Yeah, my 1-year-old was being loud, laughing and yelling and being excited, true, but he wasn't screaming at the top of his lungs like you two are making up.
You're a lying bitch. Your child was screaming. He wasn't laughing and acting excited. He was just screaming because he thought it was funny, bothering everyone, and you don't know how to control your children, and you have to make up bullshit lies and excuses to try to hide the fact that you're a bad parent. Your kid kept screaming because he thinks you're a joke and he knows that there are no consequences when he doesn't listen to you. I have seen literal bitches discipline their children and raise their kids better than you. If you're worse at raising kids than an actual bitch, guess what that makes you? You're a You're a who has to lie to make up for their bad parenting.
As well as Jasmine saying she politely came up to us, she was rude saying she was literally going deaf.
Yeah, she was sitting almost right next to your screaming kid and her ears were actually hurting having to listen to that crap. Like, what, is she not allowed to tell you how much something is bothering her? Is it rude to state facts? Oh, I guess me calling you a lying is rude then.
So yes, my husband and I were rude back.
Okay, well, at least you admit to being a
Mind you, my husband would have never been rude to a woman, but he legit thought Jasmine was a man.
I see, so your husband has trouble telling the difference between men and women. I think that says a lot more about you than it does about my wife. Does he just have a thing for strong chins? I guess that comes in handy when you're boxing. Oh,
wait, is that a man or a woman?
I also have a hard time believing that your husband would never be rude to someone just because they're a woman. He's Muslim, isn't he? Kindness to women isn't exactly a staple in their culture.
And when you asked my husband to go outside, a man with 2 babies and a wife with him, we were laughing at you.
Okay, so why was a husband with a wife and 2 babies with him screaming at my wife? It seemed like he wanted to settle his disagreement with us with violence. Isn't that something he learned from his religion? So I offered to fight him outside, and wouldn't you know it, as soon as I challenged him to a fight, he stopped yelling and started acting much more polite and calm. Weird how he's perfectly willing to yell at a woman, but when a man challenges him to a fight, he shuts the f*** up. Maybe being violent and aggressive towards women is normal in his culture, but we have very different standards of masculinity where I grew up. So, maybe next time your husband wants to talk tough to my wife, he shouldn't be surprised that I'm perfectly willing to kick his f***ing ass.
We are 2 grown was adults.
If there was any place in this paragraph to check your spelling and grammar, that would have been it.
He didn't calm down because he was scared or something.
Well, he definitely wasn't scared of my wife. He seemed perfectly comfortable yelling at her. Clearly, women don't scare him, but if he's ever confronted by someone like me, he shrivels up like a little bitch.
Which one's the man again? I can't tell which one is a man or a woman, honestly. The only person who got up was Jasmine, and then myself after.
Yeah, again, more lies. You were sitting on your ass almost the entire time, and your husband got up to our table to yell at my wife.
You guys sound so stupid in this video. We chose to have children. We will choose to have more.
Yeah, and you chose to have children with a cowardly ugly Muslim man who's aggressive towards women because they are physically weaker than him and he figures he can get away with it. Who sounds stupid now?
We are both educated.
Well, funny how you still don't know how to raise your children. I guess they didn't teach you that in school.
We're very successful, have a nice house, not a dirty shoebox apartment filled with animals, nice cars, we can afford it, but thanks for your concern.
Okay, I probably make at least as much money as either of you, so I don't know what you're bragging about here. Also, my video on not having children wasn't directed specifically at you. I'm not surprised that a self-entitled like you would think you're always the center of attention.
We are very happy.
Oh, so your husband only yells at other women? I hope you didn't get jealous that he was treating my wife special.
I've been a professional athlete, traveled the world, done a ton of great things in my life, and hands down, my children have been the best thing I've ever experienced.
I don't care, you stupid. Funny how your children are just the most wonderful thing that ever happened to you, yet you still don't know how to raise them. People ought to be good at things they have a strong interest in, but you must be retarded. Maybe it's from all the boxing.
Who are you guys to tell people what to do? Well, stick to making vegan videos, cause outside of that you sound like an idiot.
Okay, retard, maybe all you hear is buzzing in your ears from all the hits to the head you've taken, but I didn't tell anyone to do anything. I didn't tell anyone to not have children in that video. I just said having children comes with a lot of negatives that you should take into consideration. Maybe your kids get away with screaming constantly because you don't pay attention to them.
No one cares if you guys don't want kids.
Clearly you do, since you bothered to criticize my opinions on having children. And remember, this dumb claims to be educated, and here she is using childish insults.
No one cares what you think.
Looks like your second child inherited more of your stupid.
Anyways, no hard feelings. Lol, good day.
It's funny how you try to pretend that you're so happy and educated and successful and rich when you actually spent time out of your day to write this crap. I guess looking after your children comes second to getting the last word in. And Robin, again, if your husband wants to fight me, I'm down anytime. We can find an MMA gym, sign some waivers, do it legally. I can even fight you if you want. You're a man, right? And if you enjoyed this video, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. I have some funding perks you may find interesting. Also, check out the Vegan Gain store for some merch. You might find something you like. And as always, keep making those vegan and childless gains. All right, so this woman left more comments that I wasn't aware of. I only just realized that she left more after I was editing this video. So, learn how to keep your kids quiet, you taught assho. Yeah, you sound smart and educated. Maybe you can teach me how to control what comes out of a 1-year-old's mouth. Again, this is just you admitting that you don't know how to raise children. Ever heard of disciplining them? Like making a consequence for them not listening to you? You were literally sitting there saying, no, stop, no, don't do that. Like, obviously a kid isn't going to listen if you just tell him no. You have to have a consequence. Like, how do you think I was raised? Like, if I acted like that in a public place, even at 1 year old, my mom would have disciplined me and I wouldn't do that again. I didn't act like this when I was 1, so you don't know how to parent and your kid is becoming ignorant little because of you. If your kid is crying, take him outside, bimbo. The world does not revolve around you. Good advice. He wasn't crying stupid, learn how to read. What point were you trying to make here? Yeah, he was screaming intentionally as loud as he could to annoy everyone because he thought it was funny. So, yeah, it's worse than crying. So what point were you trying to make here, you fucking idiot? Nobody wants to hear your loud-ass kid. You need to learn common courtesy. No one wants some tranny-looking coming to their table being rude and disrespectful. How was my wife being rude and disrespectful? She said, excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but my ears are hurting and I'm literally going deaf from your kid. Could you keep him under control? And you flipped out. Go back to playing video games in your mom's basement. Yeah, like, does this sound like something a educated, wealthy, successful woman would say? No one wants some tranny-looking coming to their table. Wow, you sound so happy. Man, you just have such a great life, clearly. I can tell by these comments. They're not the only people that hate you. Every time your little brat makes noise in public, people are talking shit about you behind your back. Big deal, people hate their lives and nothing better to do. Speaking of nothing better to do, what the hell are you doing here? Late at night, you were writing these nasty comments about people, like calling my wife a tranny. Apparently, you don't even care about us. You think we're poor, stupid, uneducated people with shitty lives, and we're miserable. And here you are, like some wealthy, educated, successful woman with such a great family, and your kids are so amazing. Yeah, here's you late at night, talking trash online. Nothing better to do. Clearly, you're not as happy and well-adjusted as you claim. And my advice to you is break up with your husband, because I think he's actually, at least verbally, abusive towards you. He acts very aggressively towards women, and I'm sure he knew that Jasmine is a woman. He comes from a Muslim background. They're not known to be, terribly nice to women. And, I'm willing to bet he's making you miserable, which is why you're writing this trash in my comment section for no good reason. So, break up with him, and I'd also suggest getting your tubes tied so you don't make the same mistake over again. So, that's it for the video, and hope you guys have a nice night.
What a relief! When will this poisonous product cease? This is another public service announcement. You can believe it or you can doubt it. Let us begin now with the cow. The way it gets to your plate and how.